What an awesome game of football.
I just wish work could be like this every day.
But you know it could.
How?
The big boss of the Premier League, Richard Scudamore, is in town.
So we should go pay him a visit.
Absolutely.
And we should also ask him for a job.
Why not?
Let's suit up and go.
Let's go.
Ayush, let's go. Are you wearing a tie?
No, forget about it. Let's go.
Okay, we gotta get in time for this interview, man.
Hey, all right. Be at your best, yeah?
Yeah.
Best behavior. All right. All right. Hi, Richard. I'm Ayush from Bloomberg.
I'm Alex. Hi.
Alex, hi.
So I am a lawyer originally who's joined the media. Alex has this crazy interest for banking. And we thought we should apply to the Premier League for jobs. What do you think?
Is that possible?
I don't know.
Nah.
You'd have to wear a tie.
Damn it,
no.
I told you to dress up properly. There's no point wearing these suits. Let's just have a conversation with Richard anyway. Today on Bloomberg Quinn, we have Richard Scudamore. He's the executive chairman of the English Premier League. That's right, pinch yourself, it's not a dream, the English Premier League.
Richard Scudamore. What if he doesn't give us a job?
Well, we'll have to stick to our current jobs and ask him a few good questions. What about China?
That's a good question, right? Oscar, Teixeira, Hulk, all leave fantastic clubs to go join a Chinese team.
In their prime. Let's not forget that. Maybe he'll have an answer.
Let's find out.
We've seen the Indian Super League and how it's come up over the last few years. And that's something which I reckon you think has changed over the last few years as well. But when you see a lot of talent now, especially past their prime, perhaps heading towards retirement, heading to India, to the Indian Super League, to play for our audiences, and also with things happening in China as well, with the Chinese league, we see players at their prime moving there. How do you view these from England?
Well, I think they're very different, aren't they? The ISL moves are very, very different, as you say. Probably the economics mean that they're not going to be taking players from Europe that are in their prime, and that's probably the real reason. In China, clearly, the economics are different, and they've been on this cycle a little bit ahead of you, and the Chinese economics are different, and therefore they will be able to take a different level of player. But it's professional football. We, the Premier League, are economically strong. Our clubs can acquire just any player they really wanted to, if they wanted to, and therefore I don't think the whole issue is of any threat. I think it's exciting for China. I think it will be exciting for India too.
How sustainable do you think that is? If you look at the transfer window in January, I believe the amount spent by the Chinese league was upwards of 330 million, whereas in the English Premier League it was around 220 million.
Yeah, I don't think again you can really judge it on that. I don't have a view on other people's sustainability. If you see somebody driving a very nice car down the road,
Right.
you don't know whether they're very wealthy or whether they've just decided to spend every single penny they've got on that very nice car. I just don't think you can judge, and therefore I don't have an intimate knowledge of all the economics of Chinese football to be able to say what the investors' attitudes are towards whether it's sustainable or not.
But since we're talking about investors as well, Richard, in England, there's something that's changed as well in the Premier League itself since its inception, is the amount of foreign involvement, be it foreign owners, be it foreign players, be it foreign managers. Well, often we've seen calls for more domestic talent, and all of that being encouraged. Do you think that augurs well for the future, or does that need to change?
Well, it's interesting. You've seen calls within England
Absolutely.
for that,
Absolutely.
but you haven't seen calls around the world
Absolutely.
for that. And that really is the answer to your question. We are proud of the fact that we are the world's league. We are proud of the fact that we've more countries represented right now, 63 this year. We've had 98 different nationalities, I think, score goals in the Premier League.
Yeah.
So, we are very, very proud of our global, if you like, family that we've generated, and that's generated interest across the globe. You can't generate that interest without then, foreign owners wanting to come along and invest. We don't even think of them, attitudinally, we don't even think of them as foreign, anymore. It's part of our global sports world, and they have come along and they've invested. All that matters to us is, do they conform by the rules? Do they add something? Do they bring some value? Do they actually grow, what we're trying to do? And that's the most important thing.
Steven Gerrard, Ryan Giggs, Francesco Totti. Are you and I getting old, Alex, or is loyalty now a lost virtue in football?
Ayush, you're getting old, but I think loyalty has also gone out of the window. Look at it. Paul Pogba, Raheem Sterling, a number of other players, some who've even gone to the Chinese league. I think loyalty has gone out of the window.
But let's find out what the Premier League chairman thinks.
Sure, let's ask him. Do you think the amount of money that is being spent, of course, to get that talent in, do you think that's changed the game for the worse? Do you think now that players leave, don't have the kind of loyalty that they had back in, say, the 90s?
We don't know that players had that loyalty back in the 90s because it was never tested.
Right. Interesting.
And so, if the economics were different, I'm absolutely certain that there would have been player movement back in the 90s had somebody come along and said, I'd like to double your wages.
No, but
and
then
it's probably the same for you guys. If somebody walked in tomorrow and said, I'd like to pay you 3 times as much to go and work for a rival media.
Let me bring in an example there. We're both Liverpool fans. Steven Gerrard very famously turned down a very lucrative offer that was made from a rival club.
But what we don't know is whether he very famously turned down a lucrative offer that was 10 times what he was being offered by Liverpool. Liverpool themselves, of course, also had to continue to increase the rewards for him. Quite rightly should they, in order to keep him. And so, as I say, I'm not so sure we know that people were more loyal in the 90s. I'm just not so sure it was tested in the same way.
What else can we ask him? What about the broadcast deal, Ayush?
That might be a good question. £8.3 billion or something like that. That's a lot of money, Alex.
Yeah, it could potentially change the face of the league as we know it.
But just think about it. The Premier League goes out to nearly 900 million homes around the world. That's big, but it's a fraction of the population you could potentially reach.
So let's ask him what the strategy is.
When it comes to this broadcasting deal, and when we look at viewership around the world, you guys nearly reach out to 900 million homes around the world. That's massive, but that's still a tiny fraction of, when you talk about the potential of perhaps China or India. When you see domestic indigenous leagues coming up, do you see these as causes to innovate, really?
It's a lot of, you've kind of mixed the media question and the audience question in with
talking
local
about
leagues.
About reach.
So let's try and break it down. Well, reach is very interesting, isn't it? Everywhere you've got to strike a balance. Clearly, there is no point in having, getting a lot of money from one person, but there's also not much point in getting no money from a lot of people, and therefore somewhere in between that, you have to strike a balance. And the great bit about being everywhere in the world is we're able to almost hedge that balance. And so in the UK, we have a prime pay TV model, and in other parts of the world, China, our new deals in China are basically. In Hong Kong and other places, we have almost over-the-top internet, deals where eyeballs is the currency, and people think they can monetize those eyeballs. Now, somewhere in between those two extremes lies every other country that we do business with, and therefore, broadcasters or new media or media companies are all balancing up where value lies, and therefore, we don't actually sit here with a particular view. We put our rights out for tender in these markets and let those people come and tell us who they are and how they'd like to monetize them, and then we sell to them accordingly.
In the Premier League, is there a conversation that's ongoing regarding the amount of traffic that is being seen at home on social media as compared to the number of people that actually come to watch the matches? Physically present, and with regard to
because we've got such relatively small capacity for people to come and watch.
Right.
There's no social media, that's look at it the other way. Because we have a very finite set of seats in the stadia, 96% full, whilst there is some demand and still some supply, but the reality is you're only ever going to be, it's only ever going to be between 300 and 400,000 people can come, every week to a match. So what you've then got to do is how else do you engage and how else do you reach? Up until the last sort of 15 years, it was only through broadcast, and then 15 years ago, 20 years ago, maybe decent website present, the old language, and now of course you're in this much more digitally connected social media kind of environment where it's all part of filling people's minds and attention, isn't it really? And therefore, what we enjoy and our clubs enjoy is people using their waking hours, and like you as Liverpool fans, engaging. Yes, you'll be watching Liverpool on TV. Yes, you may have been to Anfield, but I'm sure you've been to Anfield less times than you've watched them on TV, and you've probably spent less time now on watching them on TV than you do engaging in various other, probably via Liverpool, Liverpool's own digital channels and everything else, because you're wanting to consume things that are Liverpool, and that's the way of the modern world.
I mentioned that we were both huge football fans, and growing up we played football, not cricket. though cricket is far
You
more
rebels,
popular.
you.
Yes, big rebels.
Absolutely.
But
Birds of a feather.
we didn't really get the opportunity to take it to the next level. And I personally feel that it's infrastructure that was lacking, and really the drive to make football bigger. How do you think that will change? Do you think infrastructure needs to be built
Of
first?
course, I've just said in this conference we're at here today, there's 40,000 clubs in England, and for a population of only 50 million people. Well, that would mean there would be 1 million football clubs, in India if you scaled that through. And so at some point, the whole football ecosystem has to develop. Where, I mean, in England, you can start a pub team behind literally behind the Dog and Duck pub in your local village, and theoretically, if you get the right players and you progress, you can work your way up through the leagues all the way from the bottom of the pyramid. There's absolutely nothing practically stopping you from actually making it all the way to the Premier League, and that is a system that is beautiful in one sense, and so could really be very interesting that the whole grassroots system has to be.
Where
Has
do
to
you
also
start? Where do you start?
Well,
in
start
India?
anywhere, start everywhere. Obviously, government has a role to play. Private sector clearly has a part to play. Just a government commitment to sport being important is essential. And then you use the professional sector, so the ISL clubs and the I-League clubs, and then the club system that you've got and the club infrastructure you've got. You use organisations like us. Anybody, it doesn't actually. I'm not suggesting anybody is sitting there with the entire plan, but you have to pull in every direction where you can.
Alex, you're a huge football fan, right?
Yeah,
And you watch the Champions League?
absolutely.
What if I told you the UEFA Champions League will become a weekend competition? There might just be a breakaway league separate from what it is right now. What do you think?
Football as a fan for me will never be the same, and I think it won't be the same for a lot of clubs in Europe who are fighting as we speak to get into the Champions League. It's that big a deal.
I'm sure the English Premier League executive chairman won't be too happy about this.
Let's ask him.
It's quite simple. We are 20 clubs. We play home and away, 380 matches on weekends, starting in August, finishing in May. Whatever goes on in the rest of the world, we won't be changing that.
I think
That's an interesting note to end this interview on. Thank you so much for joining us, Richard,
All right.
and being
It's been a
as
pleasure.
candid as possible. Next time we will wear ties.
And then you might get a job.
Thank you so much.
Thanks a lot.